So hearing about these and seeing the performance of this drama, Krishna felt very satisfied. We heard. And he was thanking Purnamasi for that kindness that she had carried out to bring him to the sense of being connected again, where he was feeling transcendentally separation. It served to increase his hankering to be again united with Radha. And so similarly, our hearing all these nice, and on the stage, the opposition party had their presence, including Jatila. So let's hear the stimulation of ecstatic love that Krishna feels by the opposition party making obstacles so that his cleverness to overcome those obstacles can be fulfilled. And he enjoys. He enjoys very much. So, in other words, how can there be an obstacle unless Krishna sanctions the obstacle? He likes obstacles, and he likes overcoming the obstacles. He is the enjoyer. He is the enjoyer of everything. So let us proceed. Something that we heard already is the circumstances of Radha's marriage with so-called husband, Abhimanyu. So the circumstances were that Kamsa, after the killing of Putana, sent Keshi and Arishta to Gokul to find out the real story of how this happened. Putana is so very powerful. And, flawlessly effective. She had killed many, and she got smashed. So find out. So they went under the order of Kamsa, and we heard, they saw Krishna, and they saw Radha. And they reported back, specifically, Arishta reported back, or Keshi reported back. Radharani is unparalleledly beautiful. You should marry her. You should kidnap her, bring her here to Mathura, and marry her. So Kamsa thought that's a really good idea. So he sent Shankachuta. And Shankachuta tried, and we heard yesterday, from both the Bhagavatam and from Romapada Swami's drama, how that was a failure, and Shankachuta got finished. And Krishna took the jewel that was on the turban, the conch, or Shanka-shaped jewel on his turban that was imposing like the sun. Krishna took the turban, took the jewel. Gave the jewel to Balaram, who gave the jewel to Radha. So she, now, Mukara, came to know. Uh-oh, Kamsa's after Radha. I have to protect my granddaughter. So what did she do? Two things. She arranged for Radha to leave to a distant place, a village known as Shantanubas, and while she was there, she began exploring marriage arrangements for her young granddaughter. And she found one, and the one that was arranged was Abhimanyu. And we heard Abhimanyu, when Abhimanyu and Radha were married, Krishna didn't know about it. Of course, he's omniscient, but he didn't know about it. And then when he was told about it, he was very disturbed. It's Līlā. so-called marriage, her so-called husband, Abhimanyu. There's our image of Mukara, remember? Nice lady. Very, very old. She was so old, she was the breastfeeding Yashoda when Yashoda was a young baby. She's very old. So like that, she's the grandmother of Krishna and Radha, but especially Radha. And Purnamasi said, when this was understood, we heard this yesterday, Purnamasi said, this false marriage of Radha and Abhimanyu is simply a trick that Yogamaya has played to achieve Kamsa. So that's how we can understand the so-called marriage, the so-called husband who never even touched the shadow of Radharani. What to speak of Radharani? So where is this place? Over on the right side, you see Raval. That's the birthplace, conventionally how we understand, the birthplace of Srimati Radharani. Just as Nanda and Jasoda had moved from Nandagram to the east side of the river Jamuna to bring about some auspiciousness so they could have a child. His dear friend, Vrishabhanu and Kirtida, they also moved, and they moved to a place that's today known as Raval. And that's where Radharani was born. And after 3 years, 4 months, when it was decided by Nanda and the elders in Gokul to shift back to the western side, too many demons, so they went to the western side, and then eventually Radharani ended up, as you see on the left side, in Varsana. And after Radharani was married to Abhimanyu, her place has a new name. The new name is Yavat. So that's the Brajmandal map. And so the mother of Abhimanyu, her name is Jatila. This is our Jatila image for this presentation. And this is part of the script of the drama that Purnamasi had arranged to satisfy Krishna. So Jatila comes on the stage and placing her forefinger on the tip of her nose and shaking her head in astonishment like, no, no, no. Oh, debauchee snake, fond of attacking young girls, whom have you come here to bite? Krishna says, Madhava on the stage says, fat lips, I've come to bite you, the witch of Vraja. So Madhava on the stage says that. In the audience are Krishna and Uddhava. Uddhava laughs, smiles. Oh, very good. And then Krishna says to Uddhava, my friend, the sweetly worded prayers of the great sages do not please me as much as these harsh words of the old ladies of Gokula. So what's the role of Jatila? It's to place obstacles, but the obstacles and the harsh words both give Krishna so much pleasure. So it looks negative, but it's not. It's a stimulation of the happiness of Krishna and stimulating his cleverness and saying clever things. Fat lips. Okay. Now there's Kutila, and here's something that is found in Nectar Devotion, chapter 45, to illustrate an ecstasy, laughing ecstasy, ati hasita, or laughing ecstasy. Prabhupada remarks, an indirect sarcastic remark made by one of the cowherd girls to Kutila, indirectly insulting her, directly from Nectar of Devotion. My dear Kutila, daughter of Jatila, your breast as long as string beans, simply dry and long. Your nose is so gorgeous that it defies the beauty of the noses of frogs. And your eyes are more beautiful than the eyes of dogs. Your lips defy the flaming cinders of fire, and your abdomen is as beautiful as a big drum. Therefore, my dear, beautiful Kutila, you are the most beautiful of all the cowherd girls in Vrindavan. And because of your extraordinary beauty, I think you must be beyond the attraction of the sweet blowing of Krishna's flute. Laughing ecstasy. So I've selected an image to be Kutila, and here's Kutila. Her name means crooked. And she gets befuddled, and she makes complaints and makes arguments and is always looking for fault in Krishna. So there's a very nice pastime that's described by our acharyas. This is not from Srimad Bhagavatam, but it's a pastime where Radharani had taken a vrata during the month of Magh to go to the banks of the river Jamuna and undergo an austerity. It's not the same, but it's quite similar to the gopis doing that vrata during the same month of Magh. So Kutila becomes suspicious. She's always suspicious. And so she thinks that Radharani is going early in the morning to the river Jamuna to meet Krishna. So she decides that she's going to go to Nandagram and do some spy mission. So she goes to Nandagram with smiles, crooked, and asks, how is Nandana? How is Krishna? And one of the residents of Nandagram says, oh, Krishna's doing a very nice vrata during this month of Magh. He's going to the river Jamuna to become purified. Aha! So Sherlock Holmes, Kutila, decides to search out Krishna, but how do you find Krishna? So she goes down the Nandagram hill and sees some footprints. And she recognizes those are Krishna's footprints. So she follows the footprints and follows the footprints and follows the footprints. And she gets very close to the place where Radha and Krishna and the gopis are, by the bank of the river Jamuna. Now, one of the gopis is in the perimeter area to check if there's going to be a problem. And she sees Kutila coming. So she quickly runs back to the kunj where Radha and Krishna and the gopis are and says, look out, here comes Kutila. And they start to panic. And Krishna says, no worries, don't worry at all. And he disappears. Now there's some exchange. Krishna comes, Kutila comes to the grove. Krishna's not there. She smells the fragrance of Krishna's transcendental body. I smell the fragrance. I know what's going on here. You guys are in trouble. And she says many harsh things. And Lalita and Vishaka know how to play tennis. So they hit the ball back at her. And they say, things like we just read. They put her back on her heels. And she decides, Kutila decides, I'm going to go tell Abhimanyu. And so she leaves. Now, meanwhile, Krishna met up with Vrinda Devi. Yesterday morning we spoke about Vrinda Devi. Vrinda Devi has storehouses, storerooms all over Vrindavan, and Krishna wanted an Abhimanyu costume. So Krishna becomes decked out like Abhimanyu, and Abhimanyu, Krishna in disguise as Abhimanyu, just happens to meet up with Kutila. Oh, Kutila, how nice to see you here. What are you doing? I was searching for a stray calf and I came here. That's why I'm here. What's up with you? And Kutila says, let me tell you what your wife Radha is up to, and tells the whole story to her brother Abhimanyu, who is Krishna. And Abhimanyu says, oh, Kutila, job well done, very good, you're expert. I'm going to go to Govardhan Mala, because Abhimanyu and Govardhan Mala is the husband of Chandravali. I'm going to go to Govardhan Mala. He has a very good relationship with Kamsa. And I'm going to ask Govardhan Mala to go tell Kamsa, because not only Krishna is with Radha, I'm not going to say Radha, Krishna is with his good wife, Chandravali. And I'll arrange for 10 horses and 100 infantry men and many chariots to go to Nanda Maharaj's palace and confront Krishna and have Krishna arrested. So you go back quickly to home and inform Jatila. So she's now fired up. I got him red-handed, and my brother's going to take care of this. The plot thickens. Krishna waits a while. Doesn't say what he's doing, but he's passing time because it takes a while to get back. And he shows up at Yavat. And as if he's Abhimanyu, and he informs Abhimanyu, as Krishna informs Jatila, look out. Krishna has got a disguise that looks like Abhimanyu. And he's going to come here and stop him. Don't let him enter. So she thinks that's her son, Abhimanyu. And when Abhimanyu comes back, she's ready to smash him and bash him. You rascal, I heard from my son what you're up to. You're in big trouble. And she starts beating her son, who is Abhimanyu. But Abhimanyu, who appeared to be Krishna, or the disguised Abhimanyu, and Krishna's there laughing and laughing and laughing. So many such pastimes take place where Kutila is on the lookout for Krishna interfering with her brother's wife or her sister-in-law. She's an obstacle that is created by, you can say, the internal potency of Krishna to make some opposition for the meeting of Radha and Krishna. And he has clever ways of resolving these problems. It enhances his happiness. There's another nice pastime related, and it has to do with Radharani feeling that she's being criticized, she's doing that which is in Vedic culture sinful and wrong and unchaste, and she's feeling very sad, transcendentally sad. It's a emotion, transcendental emotion, it's not a worldly one, and she's feeling those feelings. So Krishna knows, because he's omniscient. And what he decides to do is to feign illness. So right in front of Mother Jasoda, he collapses and falls to the ground, falls like a stick. And he starts moaning and groaning. And Mother Jasoda, loving mother, wants to do something, wants to do something, wants to do something. And so the suggestion by arrangement of Krishna's internal potency is a very special doctor is sought. And the doctor is arranged by Krishna's internal potency to know what Krishna is doing. So the doctor comes and tries this and tries that and tries something else, and nothing works. Krishna's fever, Krishna's moaning, Krishna's groaning. What to do, what to do? And the doctor says, I've tried everything, but one thing I know that will cure. Yes, what is that? What is that? We have to get a pot that has 1,000 holes. Now, I couldn't find a better image than this one, but it's not 1,000 holes. But a pot that has 1,000 holes. And if a perfectly chaste woman can bring from the river Jamuna a pot full of this water, and if Krishna drinks it, he'll be cured. So everyone's looking, who's that perfectly chaste person? And they say, let us go to Cutila. And Cutila's very proud of herself and proud of her chastity and everything. So she agrees. The short version is, she goes to the river Jamuna, lifts the clay pot, and all the water comes out. So she's very embarrassed. Now what to do, what to do? Krishna is very ill. Krishna needs this water. So they decide, let's go to Jatila. And the same thing happens. And she's very embarrassed. And then the doctor says, because it's part of the script, the doctor says, what about Radharani? And some persons say, no, Radharani, everyone knows Radharani. And they say, well, the doctor's making this recommendation, so they go to Radharani. She's very reluctant. But for Krishna's wellness, she's ready to do anything. So she goes to the river Jamuna, lifts the pot, and all the water stays in the pot. The pot with 1,000 holes. And the Jamuna water brought in the pot with 1,000 holes is brought back to Krishna, and he drinks the water and he becomes well. And so the doctor declares, just see. There are all these rumors about Radharani's lack of chastity, but just see. And Krishna's fever and Krishna's illness is changed. Never again speak these bad things about Radharani and her lack of chastity. Pastime. Jatila and Kutila, who are always on Krishna's case, making opposition for him. The place where Radharani lived as the so-called wife of the so-called husband of Abhimanyu was in a place called Yavat. And we saw where geographically Yavat is. And if you picture in your mind, those of you who have been to Vrindavan, it's almost due east of Nandagram. And midway between Nandagram and Yavat is a very wonderful transcendental place, a meeting place among many things, Ter Kadamba. So just hearing these words, I'm very happy. Ter Kadamba is such a transcendental place. It's a place where Rupa Goswami many times would stay and do his writing. Specifically, it's said, much of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Our Nectar Devotion, was written there, at Ter Kadamba. And many nice things about Ter Kadamba. So, east of Ter Kadamba, or in between Yavat and Nandagram, is Ter Kadamba. And Yavat has a meaning. Yava is the red dye or color placed, sometimes ladies place on their feet. And vata means tree, specifically a banyan tree. So it's a place that's on the railway line, and it's the place, it's the home of Jatila and her daughter Kutila. And it's a place where Jatila, is always trying to protect Radha from Krishna. The place, according to the writings of our acharyas, the place, it's not the same place today as when Radha and Abhimanyu and Jatila, Cutila lived there, but it was a palace. It was a palace that was built by Radharani's father. Radharani's father, Vrishabhanu, was very wealthy. Very wealthy. And Radharani's father built a palace for Radha. And this painting is meant to show the palace. Specifically, it says this palace has a dome at the top for gazing at the moonlight. We're going to see this painting another time because it's related to another pastime. But you can picture in your mind, there's this palace, and Radharani's living in the palace, is married to the so-called husband Abhimanyu, and inside are Kutila and Jatila always trying to stop their meeting. In Bhakti Ratnakar is a book that was written after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's departure, and it's describing the personalities, the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after the departure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And part of that Bhakti Ratnakar is a parikrama that two of the wonderful exalted devotees are taken in parikrama around the places of Vrindavan, and the narrator is describing each of those places, something about each of those places. So one of those places that they visit is Kokilavan. And Kokilavan is a place that's behind Yavat, or it's a forest where there's kokilas, or kokilas are cuckoo birds. So what the pastime that's described right in Bhakti Ratnakar is one time Krishna wanted to meet with Radha. So he went into the Kokila forest, or Kokilavan, and made the sound of kokila, the cuckoo sound. And I don't have experience of this, but I have experience with peacocks. Maybe some of you had experience with peacocks. When a peacock makes this peacock sound, it starts a chain reaction, and all the other peacocks start making the peacock sound. Dina Bandhu is really good at it. I can't do it. And then it subsides, and then another peacock, and then the whole chorus of peacocks. So kokilas are like that. And inside, so Krishna's in the forest making the kokila sound, and the other kokila birds are responding in chorus. Inside, Vishaka understands what's going on. Krishna's in the kokila forest. He's calling us. So she says to Jatila, "Oh, hear that sound. I want to go with my friends. Can we go?" Asking permission. "Oh, yes, very nice. It's nice sound. Go hear the kokila birds in the Kokilavan." And sure enough, when they go to Kokilavan, there's Krishna, along with other kokilas, making the kokila sound, and Krishna can enjoy pastimes with the gopis. That's from Bhakti Ratnakar. And in Rupa Goswami's writings, in Ujjvala Nilamani is a part 2 of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He describes a pastime in relation to Jatila in Yavat. So Krishna decides he wants to go meet with Radha, and so he enters into the courtyard and climbs up a pilu tree, and in the pilu tree, Krishna starts making the sound of a Kutila bird at night. And Jatila is very suspicious. Kutila birds make their sound during the daytime, not at nighttime. This is Krishna's up to some mischief. So she doesn't see very well, but she grabs a stick and starts hitting the ground loudly and saying bad things. I know you're here somewhere. You rascal, you know, this and that. You debauchee, you this and that. So Krishna becomes silent. And he's sitting in the tree. And Jatila decides she's going to spend the night right under that tree in the courtyard. But she falls asleep. And when Jatila falls asleep, Krishna climbs down the tree, goes and meets with Radha, spends time with Radha, and before the sun rises in the morning, he sneaks out the front gate and goes back to Nandagram. Jatila's been asleep, and this is all in Ujjwala Nilamani. Abhimanyu wakes up and sees his mother asleep under the pilu tree and says, "Mother, what are you doing?" And she says what she says. This rascal, this debauchee, he was out here. Kutila birds don't make their sound at night. He's a rascal, and I came here to catch him and punish him. And Abhimanyu shakes his head and said, if you really think that there's some difficulty, then I'll just lock the gate at night, and Krishna can't come in, if it's true that he's coming in. Very good, very good. So, next evening, Krishna comes, and the gate's locked. And when the gate's locked, on the second night, Krishna goes to a berry tree grove behind the palace of Radharani in Yavat. And he makes his Kutila sound, but he can't enter. So he spends the night very sadly in the berry tree grove, making the sounds of a Kutila bird, and has to go back disappointed because of the obstacle created by Jatila. Now, he's all powerful. He can do whatever he wants. So this is a happiness where even the obstacle isn't overcome, and there's a happiness, the anticipation of meeting with Radha, and the obstacle isn't overcome. It's part of the happiness of Krishna. That's how we have to see all these pastimes. And what will we know about these things if it wasn't for our acharyas? Rupa Goswami has a collection of nice poems or songs or sayings in a book called Padyavali. It's just a compilation of his own and others' writings. So this is from Padyavali. When Lord Krishna arrived in Radha's courtyard for their rendezvous, his tinkling ornaments sounded like the cooing of cuckoos and other birds. He suddenly heard the door open, and he also heard the continual jingling sound of conch shell bracelets. When he heard the arrogant Jarati call out, "Who's there? Who's there?" he became pained at heart. He spent that entire night hiding in a tree in the corner of the courtyard. Now, the author is not our Gaudiya Vaishnava author. Sri Hari is somebody else. So it seems that these pastimes are beyond the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they have similar relish. Now, today's place in Yavat is not the same place that was built by Rishabhanu, but here's the courtyard, and there's the nice tree, the pilu tree. That same pilu tree is no longer. But you see in the background, that's Dinabandhu, and speaking before some of the pilgrims that go to Yavat and hear the pastimes like you're hearing. Here's from up on the roof, and here's where the devotees are taking prasadam. Spread out, even up on the roof on the other side and all over the place. And the pilu tree in the foreground. Now, this particular photograph is looking directly at the temple area. Those arches are in front of the temple. And let's go inside the temple and take a look, because there's some very beautiful deities at Yavat. The deities' names are Radha Kanta. Radha Kanta. And this is on a particular day. You see Gornitai in the background by their shoulder, and Govardhan Shila, etc., down in the front. Here's a close-up, Radha Kanta. Radharani is especially beautiful, and so Radha Kanta deities in Yavat. Years ago, over on the side, there was, it was hard to understand who these people were, but this is Jatila in the middle, Kutila by her right side, or our left, and there's Abhimanyu. So over the years, they were repaired. And the repaired version looks like this. And then over the years, these three murtis were replaced with these murtis. So when you go there today, that's what you'll see. Kutila dressed in green, Jatila dressed in pink, and Abhimanyu, who is of dark complexion like Krishna, with a nice clock in front of him. And they don't take care of the place very nicely. As you can see, it's kind of messy. Its description about Kutila, dull-brained and crooked, always eager to find fault. So one time, Kutila said to Abhimanyu, Radha and Krishna are enjoying pastimes together. Let come with me. And when he came, as he was coming with Kutila, Radharani said, uh-oh, what to do? Here comes Abhimanyu. And Krishna said, don't worry, just worship me. And so Radharani did exactly what Krishna said. And when they came, they saw this form of Kali, because Krishna had transformed himself into the form, six-armed form of Kali, with a long tongue sticking out. And Radharani was worshipping, and Abhimanyu said, Kutila, look at this. What a delight. Radharani is worshipping Kali. You're a troubled lady. Please don't bother me like this. So here's a more recent photo of the same. Notice it's pretty messy. Notice they also have at their feet a nice painting of Panchatattva. That's, the influence of ISKCON. And here's a painting of that pastime. There's Radharani worshipping the goddess Kali. On the left side is Abhimanyu, along with his sister Kutila, who has informed her brother that Radha is with Krishna again. These are pastimes involving Jatila, Kutila, and Abhimanyu to help us appreciate how Krishna enjoys the obstacles created by them and overcoming those obstacles most of the time, almost all of the time. From Nectar Devotion, there's a description of another type of smiling, hasita. Here's if you see on the right side, there's some gopis in the painting, and the gopis are exhibiting this hasita feature of a particular kind of smile. So the description in Nectar Devotion is, one day, Abhimanyu, the so-called husband of Radharani, was returning home. And at that time he could not see that Krishna was there in his house. Krishna immediately changed his dress to look exactly like Abhimanyu and approached Abhimanyu's mother before he got in the house. Jatila, addressing her thus, "My dear mother, I am your real son Abhimanyu, but just see, Krishna, dressed up like me, is coming before you." Jatila, the mother of Abhimanyu, immediately believed that Krishna was her own son, and thus became very angry at her real son, who was coming home. She began to drive away her real son, who was crying, "Mother, mother, what are you doing?" Seeing this incident, all the girlfriends of Radharani who were present there began to smile, and a portion of their teeth was visible. This is an instance of Asita smiling. Rupa Goswami was directed and empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to write specifically about bhakti. And within bhakti, there's bhakti rasa. There was a question yesterday about the writings of our Goswamis. Is it from scripture, or is it from their realization, or combination? So just a little background is Rupa Goswami drew a lot of the teachings of bhakti rasa, or rasa, from Bharata Muni. Bharata Muni is a celebrated person who, many people know Bharatanatyam. He was displaying emotion through dance, thus Bharatanatyam. And he had a whole series of writings. I know some devotees, some young girls, who took Bharatanatyam, and their teacher, in one case at least, he gave them the whole teaching of rasa from Bharata Muni. Writings and writings and writings. So where did Bharata Muni get his writings? I don't know. But Rupa Goswami requested by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to expand the teachings of bhakti rasa, or the process of devotional service, the abhideya portion, the bhakti portion of devotional service. He drew from Bharata Muni's writings, and he expanded. So in answer to the question from yesterday, he drew from authorized, everyone recognizes, most persons recognize Bharata Muni's authority in the science of rasa. Rupa Goswami added some details that are not in Bharata Muni's writings, and he then presented them as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And this is one of those. So in the exhibition of Bhakti Rasa, there is this transcendental aspects, and narrations like this one are presented by Rupa Goswami to illustrate, as pastimes illustrate principles in Bhakti Rasa. Here's another one from Nectar Devotion. Anger and ecstatic love. There we see Jatila again. When Jatila, the mother of Abhimanyu, saw Krishna wearing a necklace, she could understand that the jeweled ornament had been given to him by Radharani. She therefore became absorbed in anger and began to move her eyebrows, expressing her anger and ecstatic love. Nectar Devotion. Here's another one. One time, Radharani returned home, forgetting that she was wearing Krishna's yellow cloth around her shoulders. Now, we heard about the yellow cloth around her shoulders from Mukara. This is a celebrated yellow cloth. Jatila is also discovering it. When Radharani's mother-in-law Jatila saw this yellow cloth instead of the customary cloth of another color, she sensed foul play and angrily stared at her daughter-in-law. At that time, Vishaka tried to protect her friend Radharani by speaking the following words to Jatila. Clever. At the festival, the young girls, their hearts fluttering with happiness, playfully doused Radharani with a strong mixture of turmeric and water, which dyed her silken shoulder cloth yellow. That is the reason this cloth is now yellow. O noble Jatila, why do you stare at my friend Radharani from the corner of your crooked eyes? Another celebrated event that occurs once a year in our Vaishnava calendar is Gopastami. What's Gopastami? It's a celebration on the 8th day of the waxing moon, where Krishna began taking care of calves. Here's from the Kartik Mahatmya section of Padma Purana. In the 8th lunar day, in the bright fortnight of the month of Kartik, is known by authorities as Gopastami. From that day, Lord Vasudeva served as a cowherd, whereas previously he had tended the calves. So he graduated from calves to cows. Padma Purana. So that's now in our Vaishnava calendar, Gopastami Day. And there's a nice pastime that occurs on Gopastami Day. Beginning on the same Gopastami, 4 years and 2 months, Krishna began herding the calves. That's at its early age. As indicated above, 2 years later, also on Gopastami, Krishna began herding the cows. So there's a pastime connected with the first of the 2 Gopastamis, where Krishna is still taking care of calves. And what happened in this pastime is Krishna was feeling sad. Satchitananda Krishna was feeling sad. And in his sadness was because of Jatila, was making obstacles for him meeting with Radha. And Krishna's dear friend Subal detected Krishna's sadness, so he wanted to do something. So he said to Krishna, I'll see if I can make an arrangement whereby you and Radha can be together. Krishna looked at his dear friend Subal and said, please do what you can. Now, one of the situations with Subal is his features, bodily features, color, everything seems to be very similar to Krishna's. So sometimes Abhimanyu dresses like Krishna. So in this case, Subal went to Yavat. And as he came to Yavat, immediately Jatila became suspicious. What's going on? I want to protect my daughter-in-law, Radharani. Here comes one of Krishna's cowherd boyfriends. What are you doing here? And Subal said, I'm looking, oh dear mother, Jatila, I'm looking for a stray calf, and I can't find the calf anywhere. He may have gone into the courtyard. Well, you can go, but come back quickly if you find the calf. So what Subal did was, Subal went to Radharani's room, told Radharani his plan, and he said to Radharani, let's change clothes. You can wear my clothes, and I'll wear your clothes, And when you wear my clothes and you leave, then you can tell Jatila that I couldn't find the calf. He said, well, there's differences between our bodies. How's that going to work? And he said, well, you can carry a calf in front of you. So Jatila won't recognize. Now their color is different, but somehow Radharani left carrying a calf across her chest, and Jatila said, very well, you found the calf, now you can leave. But it was Radharani looking like Subal. So Radharani, now in the background you see Subal dressed like Radharani in Radharani's room. And there's Jatila making cow patties by the gate. So Radharani, dressed like Subal, went to find Krishna at Nandagram. And Krishna was very sad. Oh, Subal, you've come back without Radharani. Couldn't you bring her? And Radharani smiled. She recognized the display of Krishna's love for her. So then she revealed her true identity. Actually, I'm not Subal. I'm Radharani. And Krishna became very, very happy. Now, there isn't an end to the story of like how Subal got out of there. But this pastime, although it's not a scriptural pastime, it's such a popular pastime that in many temples they dress the deities on Gopastami this way, where this is in Ireland, and they're really strict in Ireland, I'll tell you. There's Radharani carrying a calf. Of course, next to Krishna is more than a calf, it's a big cow. And then the background, you see that's the Yavat place. And here, this is in Houston, Texas. There's a calf by her right arm. You can see. And another place. I don't know where this place is. There's the calf, commemorating this pastime to overcome the obstacle created by Jatila. One more. One day, Chandravali's friend, Padma, informed Radharani's mother-in-law, Jatila, that Radha and Krishna were enjoying pastimes together at Bandiravan forest. Jatila arrived at that place and saw Radha and Krishna together. At that time, the following conversation occurred between her and Radharani's friend. Radharani's friend, Shama. Jatila, agitated by a foolish girl, I have come here. What am I to believe? Shama, I have full faith in you. Tell me what's happening here. Shama says, what I tell you is the truth. I'm not deceiving you. What you see is Subal, dressed up like a girl, clowning with Krishna, the funny comedian of Vraja village. So, yeah, correction. Subal's features, color, complexion, etc. look like Radharani's. And so sometimes he dresses like Radharani. And this is the Bandira forest. Now, I'm going to have to take a break. I'm going to go use the restroom. I'll be right back. Pardon me. But here's the next story. Recognize it.
Jai Radhe Jaya Krishna. Krishna Jaya Vrinda. Shri Govinda Gopinata Madana Moha. Shri Govinda Shri Govinda Gopinata Madana Moha. Shri Govinda Gopinata Madana Moha. Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan. Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahavar. Jaya Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahavar. Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Keshi Ghata Vamshi Vata Dvadashakana. Keshi Ghata Jaha Shaba Līlā Koilo Shri Nanda Nanda.
There's many nice pastimes related to this palace of Radharani. There we see in the painting, there's Radharani up on the upper floor. Down below, we see Purnamasi and Vrindadevi. There's more to the story, but that's what's in the painting. This is a description that's found in Vidagdha Madhava. It takes place on the Purnim day of the month of Shravan. On this particular day, the Purnim day, Abhimanyu pays a visit to Purnamasi. And he's seeking Purnamasi's blessings. And he says to Purnamasi, I want your blessings. I wish to move my whole family to another place besides Vrindavan. And Purnamasi says, why? And she says, well, you know why. Everyone says all these things about my wife and Krishna, and I thought the best solution is just to leave Vrindavan. I'll go to some other place. Now, Purnamasi's not going to let Radharani leave Vrindavan. But what she says, part of the Līlā, she said, this is just rumors. Don't listen to gossip. People say all kinds of things. I'll tell you what. If you actually catch Radha and Krishna doing mischievous things together, then you can leave. He said, very good. Now I have a second request of you. What's that? The second request is, Govardhan Malla has become rich. And I want to become rich. And one of the ways he has become rich is he has his wife Chandravali worship Gory. Gory is a form of Durga. So can you initiate Radha into the mantras to worship Gory so I can become rich? And then I can have many cows and I can be a famous person? Because he has a material motivation. And Purnamasi says, sure. I'll teach you those mantras. So Abhimanyu is very happy. And Abhimanyu departs. Now the painting there's Purnamasi before the palace of Radharani, and she's with Vrindadevi. And Vrindadevi comes sent as a messenger, remember? Vrindadevi is a messenger, but this time she doesn't send parrots, she comes herself on behalf of Krishna to inform Purnamasi that Krishna would like her to arrange, or them to arrange, a meeting with Radharani. And so Purnamasi says, let's come up with a plan. And as they're having a conversation, who should arrive but Lalita and Vishaka? So the four ladies are there discussing how to make some arrangement. And Lalita says, I was told that just today, Chandravali is going to be going with her dear friend Padma to go visit her in-laws. And so Krishna will pass right by the Gory deity, Chandravali will pass right by. So they made this arrangement. The arrangement was that Chandravali and Padma would be traveling together to go visit their in-laws, and Krishna came, knowing that that's because he's omniscient, and he started interfering with their movement and grabbing a hold of Chandravali's arm, and who would show up but the grandmother of Chandravali, and she severely chastised Krishna and went storming off to go to take her back to Govardhan Malla's home. No, we're going to hear shortly. Padma had the idea that Vishaka and Lalita had informed the grandmother that Krishna is going to be meeting with Chandravali. So she wanted to get back. Padma wanted to get back. Because the arrangement was interfering with the meeting of Chandravali, her dear friend, and Krishna. So now the scene clears. Krishna is in the vicinity of the Gory deity, and Radharani is coming along to worship the Gory deity. according to the indications given to her by Purnamasi, how to worship the Gory deity. So we see here she is carrying water to be used for the worship of Gory. And Krishna checks her movement, and Krishna says some funny things, and Krishna's, doing what sometimes. So Radharani is in this opposition mood at this particular time. And purposefully, when she's in this opposition mood, Krishna speaks to her using the name Chandravali. And Radharani becomes really upset, and she storms off. And according to Vidagdha Madhava, this is just an arrangement to change the mood. It's a break in the drama, the flow of the Līlā. So off Radharani goes, angry. And who would show up but Vrinda Devi? Because now Krishna wants a Gory costume. If you remember from yesterday morning, she has storerooms all over Vrindavan, and she does all kinds of amazing things to assist. So she arranges a Gory costume for Krishna. So what does Krishna do? He goes to the Gory temple and stands in his Gory costume in front of the Gory deity. And Radharani comes and begins worshipping Gory, but she's worshipping Krishna, who is in the form of Gory. Meanwhile, Padma, who was convinced that Lalita told Chandravali's grandmother about their meeting with Krishna, and so she, Padma, went and told Jatila that Radha is enjoying with Krishna at Gauri Tirtha. Plot thickens, right? So, once informed by Padma that Krishna and Radha are enjoying together at Gauri Tirtha, Jatila's, now we got him. She goes to get Abhimanyu and the two. Abhimanyu and Jatila go to Gauri Tirtha. And there's Radharani worshipping Gauri, who's Krishna. And there's the painting. There's Krishna now is standing in front of the Gauri deity, and there's in the center the elder lady, that's Jatila, and many gopis, etc. And there you see a little chubby Madhumangal enjoying ladus down in the front row. So when Abhimanyu comes, Abhimanyu sees Krishna dressed as the Gauri deity and says to Radha, "Aha! I've caught you." And Radharani is saying, "What are you talking about?" And you're with Krishna, aren't you? And Radharani starts crying. And she's crying and crying and crying. Radha, why are you crying? Because Gauri just informed us of the most horrible thing. And the Gauri deity then speaks and says, "Radha, do not make such a difficult request." So Abhimanyu wants to know, what's that difficult request? And the Gauri deity says, "It's too terrible, I can't tell you. Vrinda Devi, you'll have to say." No, excuse me. Vrinda Devi is asked. And Vrinda Devi says, "I can't say." The Gauri deity says, "O brave Abhimanyu, Radha is requesting for the removal of a great disaster which is sitting on your head." Radharani worshipping Gauri, who is Krishna. And Gauri is saying, "Radha, I can't fulfill this request." Vrinda Devi, you tell. Vrinda says it's too terrible. Gauri says, "A great disaster is sitting on your head." What's that? Vrinda Devi says, "Abhimanyu, the day after tomorrow, King Kamsa is going to cut off your head and offer it to Lord Shiva." That's what Gauri has informed, the great disaster. So Abhimanyu is, no, Gauri, please do something, please do something. Gauri Devi says, it's Radha asks, do not take so much interest in the prayers. I do not take so much interest in the prayers of the sages and yogis, but the rope of devotion with which you have bound me forces me to bless you, but on one condition: you must never leave Vraja and always render service unto me. Now Radharani knows what's going on, that the Gory deity is not the Gory deity, it's Krishna dressed as the Gory deity in a Vrindadevi costume. But Abhimanyu is a little dull, and Jatila is more dull, and they're pleading, and so Gory asks Radharani for these two requests. You want me to relieve this great calamity, but Abhimanyu has to make a promise that he'll never take you out of Vrindavan, and he'll always allow you to serve me. And Abhimanyu, swears up and down, I'll never. I had this idea. I heard these unfortunate rumors, and they're just rumors. I accept it's just rumors, and I'll never leave Vrindavan. I swear. And Jatila then praises Radharani. Oh, you please stay here and worship Gory, because now my dear son is protected by your devotion to Gory, so you please come regularly and worship Gory. And so they all depart. Here's a close-up of the same painting. Laddu eating Madhu Mangal in the foreground. And so as they're having this exchange, Vrindadevi looks at Abhimanyu and says, that man who wrongly accuses a chaste wife of infidelity will cut short his own lifespan. Gory Devi declares this. Gory then says to Abhimanyu, most fortunate Abhimanyu, Radha is the source of your good fortune. Do not mistreat her. Abhimanyu says, oh, goddess, Subal sometimes dress up like Radha and jokes with my jealous, envious mother. So they depart. There's the painting of Radha worshipping Gory and so forth. Purnamasi arrives. And Krishna says to Purnamasi, well done. I wanted to meet with Radha, and you've made this most amazing arrangement. Radha's great fear has been removed, that they're going to leave Vrindavan, and the disturbance in her mind has been destroyed. The Sakhis have attained great bliss. Now how may I serve you? Krishna says to Purnamasi, who says, I am personally fully happy. Still I have two requests. Please always enjoy in the kunjas of Vrindavan with Radha, and any devotee in whose ear a small drop of this nectarian pastime enters, let him attain loving affection to your lotus feet, just like Radharani's. Rupa Goswami's benediction through the drama itself. Now, looking at the clock, I think I'm going to end. There's another very nice Kutila, Jatila narration in connection with Radharani's fever and Vidyavali. So maybe I'll give a synopsis of this. Maybe not, let's see, because the Sunday feast, I don't know if it's appropriate. But a nice pastime where Radharani feigns a fever, and Dr. Vidyavali rescues Radharani from her fever. So stepping back, we've just taken a sound bath in the pastimes of Krishna in his activities in Vrindavan, and included just this morning the opposition party, Jatila, Kutila, and Abhimanyu, that enhance the pleasure of Krishna. While they're creating obstacles, Krishna enjoys the obstacles because his creativity in overcoming the obstacles is taxed, and he enjoys that. It's part of his happiness. So it's happiness in the spiritual world is very different than happiness in this world. It's not in relation to the senses and sense enjoyment. It's in relation to Krishna's happiness. And Krishna's happiness is oceanic. Although it may look something other, it includes everything. It must include everything. That which is the source of everything has to have everything. So what's here is a reflection of the everything that's within Krishna. So it's a stretch. There was some discussion after yesterday evening class or during the class itself. Sometimes people hear these descriptions and they're spun out, because how can God do these things, and so forth and so on. But it has to be. That is, within that which is the source of everything has to have everything. And the everything which is within the source is completely pure. And that which is from the source is not the real thing, it's a reflection of the real thing. And so here, there's good and bad. But in the absolute realm, everything is all good absolute. So these pastimes that appear to be contrary to morality or what's right and what's wrong, there's a transcendental dimension to Krishna's happiness. It includes everything. It has to. So it takes a while for most of us conditioned souls to become clear that whatever it is that is part of Krishna's pastimes in Vraja or anywhere, it's all transcendental. I mean, there are pastimes, for example, one pastime that comes to mind is Vamana's binding Bali. After Bali surrendered everything, Atmani Vedana, he surrendered everything, Vamana had him bound up. You promised me 3, you only gave me 2, because with 2 he took everything, so now you have to be punished. And he punished him like a really bad criminal. And it created like a hubbub. Different persons said, this is wrong. Why has he done this? And then it became revealed. He, Vamana, simply wanted to display the absolute surrender. Atmani Vedana means even when it doesn't look good, that he's being treated badly after surrendering everything, it's good. Vamana said, I wanted to disclose to all of you the absolute perfectness of Bali Maharaj, and therefore I make a commitment to him. I'll be a guard at his gate, at the entrance to his residence. I'll stand there and guard it. And so he did. So, transcendental things are not to be judged by worldly yardsticks. And put them away and look through transcendental lens and understand the happiness of the personality of Godhead is everything, and the happiness includes everything. Although to us it may not look like happiness, or it may not look like good. It's all good, absolute. So our confidence in that may become tested. That's good. It's good. Transition is good. To go from where we are to where we want to go, it's good. And when you transition from where you are to where you want to go, it's a little uncomfortable transitioning, because we become attached to our idea of what's what and what's good and what's not good and so forth. It's all good. It's all good. So let's see if there's some discussion. What time is this class supposed to end? 9:15. 9:15. Well, my clock says it's 9:20. So, any discussion? I see one hand.
Guru Maharaj, is there any mention of Jatila and Kutila's disposition, favorable disposition for Krishna?
There's mention. I think it's Radha Krishna Gonadesh Dipika, where Rupa Goswami says Jatila enjoys the exchanges of Krishna. But, generally speaking, it's not. Her favorable disposition is giving happiness to Krishna by being in opposition. And that's not her meditation. Let me give happiness to Krishna by being in opposition to Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I have one question that the act of creating this obstacle should we consider as a demoniac act or it's a devotional act?
Depends. Meaning, if someone opposes Krishna, let's take Kamsa as a demon. But Krishna enjoys killing Kamsa. So is Kamsa giving happiness to Krishna in devotion or in opposition? It's in opposition. But nonetheless, Krishna gets happiness. And Krishna gives him liberation. Liberation. So depends on how you look at it. But it's the idea of devotion is that which is favorable. The verse Anyabilashatur shunyam jnana karma janabratam anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. That's the Rupa Goswami's definition. So bhakti, that which is devotional, is with the intention of pleasing Krishna, and that's not the intention in these cases. The opposition is not the intention of Krishna is to be pleased, but Krishna gets pleasure.
Their act is not devotional act.
That's correct. Yes. I could have given a shorter answer, which is what you just said. Not a devotional act. It's not with the intention of pleasing Krishna. Although it's very pleasing to Krishna. There's another hand up. And I think we should take this, the last one will end.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for blessing us with the beautiful pastimes of Radharani. It's very rare in this age of Kali to listen to that, especially for us. We have a busy schedule every day. We go to work and everything. So my question is, considering Kutila, Jatila, is there any places where it's mentioned in the scripture that we can classify the bhava as vatsal bhav or other type of mellows?
I'm not aware of any passage where their bhava in relation to Krishna is identified, specifically in the 5 primary. Your question is not so dissimilar from the previous question. It's not the same question, but it's not so dissimilar. So I made the statement, it's not bhakti because it's not with the purpose of pleasing Krishna. But there's some relationship with Krishna. A relationship that gives Krishna's pleasure, although it's not the intention of the person. So your question is, what's their rasa in relation to Krishna? I'll see if I can find some reference that says that. And Amarendra is very knowledgeable. He may know right off the top without having to look it up. But I'll be surprised if there's some statement that says Jatila is in such and such rasa. By age, it would make sense parental, with a secondary rasa, eclipsing the primary rasa. That's my guess. But some statement that says that, I'm not aware. We'll end there. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.